Good morning, all. And my first inquiry to an app called NeuroTranslator, which is a great app, and it helps translate language and understanding between autistic people and neurotypical people. So I asked the following question. I want to know what went wrong with a conversation I had with a neurotypical. And the neurotypical I was referring to in asking this question was United States District Court Judge, the Honorable M.K.C. Rogers, who was then the Chief Judge of the Northern District of Florida Federal Court in Tallahassee, Florida. I stated, I'm autistic by diagnosis. I reported to the neurotypical judge what my diagnosing autism doctor told me. That because I'm autistic, I have a childlike brain that didn't really change since childhood. Research by Geschwind et al. Backs this up by findings that gene expression in autistic people is different than in neurotypical people, and that although gene expression changes in the frontal and temporal lobe in adolescents and neurotypicals, in autism, gene expression in frontal and temporal lobe stays the same from childhood in adolescence. The neurotypical became very angry upon hearing what I said, told me I was willful and contumacious, and fined me $40,000 to punish me. I was punished for being true to my autism, being honest. And so here's what NeuroTranslator had to say about what went wrong with this conversation, this autistic, neurotypical communication interface. It sounds like a challenging situation, Mary Catherine, and I appreciate you sharing your experience. There are a few key points where miscommunication may have occurred during your conversation with the neurotypical. Number one, understanding of autism. Many neurotypicals may not be familiar with the nuances of autism, including how an autistic brain may function differently. And relevant research, the neurotypical might have interpreted this in a way that felt threatening or confrontational. They may not have understood your intent, which was to provide context about your experiences as an autistic individual. Number two, language and interpretation. Interpretations like childlike brain can carry different connotations. To some, this might evoke feelings of diminished capacity or immaturity, leading to a strong emotional response. The neurotypical's reaction of anger and terms they used, parenthesis, willful and contumacious, end parenthesis, reflect their frustration with how they interpreted your statement rather than an understanding of your explanation. Number three, conflict of values. Your honesty about your autism can clash with the expectations and values, beliefs of some neurotypicals, which may see it as an excuse or an inability to conform to societal norms. This difference in perspectives can result in punitive measures such as the fine you experience, instead of constructive dialogue. to foster better understanding in the future. It might help to clarify your intentions before discussing topics that could be sensitive. For example, explaining that you are sharing this information to help them understand your perspective as an autistic individual could set a more positive tone. If any similar situations arise, focusing on emotional expressions and seeking common ground can also be beneficial. Okay, so, well, one of my problems as an autistic person is I don't know what emotions I'm feeling. I cannot name them. I cannot identify them. I cannot convey them to others by body language or facial expressions or any of that. So, and I don't really have any kind of social language or social cognition. At least not automatic, not without having to study other people and research it in detail and try to logically piece it together. So I can't really do that part about the emotional expressions. But I want to say that on this first question, this NeuroTranslator app was great. And if I had access to that in that court case, the court case was Petranos v. Old Republic National Title Insurance Company, renamed Petrano v. Nationwide Insurance Company. And it was a case brought, I was sanctioned in 2013 by the Honorable M.K.C. Rogers for having truthfully made that statement to her to try to explain my autism. And I was just slapped down for being honest because she didn't understand my autism. And I want to say, I think if the federal court and this judge, Honorable M.K.C. Rogers, had to use, maybe by changing the federal rules of civil procedure or the United States Supreme Court ordering all federal courts to use NeuroTranslator, I think if the court had to use NeuroTranslator with me or provided me with an autism language interpreter and translator, I do not think that she would have become angry at me, misinterpreted me, and I don't think I would have been fined $40,000 for being honest and telling her what my diagnosing doctor told me about my autism. So there is a classic misinterpretation of autistic language communication by a neurotypical federal judge who still sits in Tallahassee on the federal bench that was extraordinarily devastating on my life because, first of all, I don't even know if I've earned $40,000 net income in my entire life. So it was a bigger fine than the money I've earned net income in my entire life. So I just wanted to do this video. I think it's very important. I had to try NeuroTranslator out. But it's not just in the courts where I misinterpreted. So I'm going to try to work through these communication problems I've had and try to deconstruct them and debunk what's happening. Because I do know that the federal court gives no autism training whatsoever, mandatory, required by every single federal judge. And I have a public records response from the Florida Supreme Court from 2021 saying they don't give any state of Florida judges any autism spectrum educational training. So, I mean, there's a problem. This is a big problem. Now, you can check my other previous video on the 40 plus ways autistic language differs from neurotypical language. And NeuroTranslator is a very much needed tool. And I love it. So to Mickey, who created it, created this AI app. Thank you so much. And to Thomas Henley, who reported on its existence in a video I watched yesterday, thank you so much for reporting on this great new app. And that's all I have for today. If you like my video, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell, and you'll be notified of my future videos. And I will be doing one about why I've been in a severe autistic burnout since just before Christmas until now and haven't published any videos. And this is an autistic thing. Get autistic burnout, and there are triggers for that. And I will be doing a future video on the triggers that cause this burnout. And thank you for watching.